Hello, everyone. This is Inspire a PhD, and it is a podcast that puts a name, face, and voice to the experiences of PhD graduates, especially international graduates. Here we speak with graduates of PhD who, in their own voice, we're going to allow them to describe what PhD is and what it is not. Desire is to inspire current and prospective PhD students. My name is Ibeh Omodolor Atokilesho, and I am a graduate student of chemical engineering at the Texas A&M University in the USA. Today, I have a guest that will be sharing his experience during his PhD education, and his name is Dr. Ibeh Omodolor. I have the great honor of knowing Dr. Omodolor because he graduated from chemical engineering, and his story is one of the inspiring ones that I know and that I have heard. It's a great privilege. I would like to welcome you, and I would like to say, could you please give us a brief description, a brief introduction about yourself, about your academic journey? Thank you.
Thank you, Ibeh Omodolor. It's an honor for me to be with you today to share my story and get to inspire people. Again, my name is Ibeh Omodolor. I currently work for Intel as a senior process engineer in dry edge team. I had my PhD at the University of Toledo in chemical engineering. My supervisor was Dr. Anna Barubio, and my research actually was just trying to solve the problem of pollution. My PhD thesis had two main focus. The first part of the PhD is to try to find a way to convert plant to plastic. And the second part of my PhD is to find a way to capture CO2 and convert them to useful substances. All this is by doing catalysis, make reactions that will not work and make them possible. I'm a Christian. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife, Ibeh Omodolor, and I have two girls, Isabel Omodolor, and my other daughter is Elizabeth Omodolor. We currently live in Portland, Oregon. And thank you, Ife, for this.
Thank you so much, Ibeh. Thank you so very much. So that people will have a context of what your academic journey is. And I would like to just start from the beginning. At what point did you know that you wanted to do a PhD? Do you remember that?
Yes, that's a very good question. So it started when I was doing my NYSC. Actually, I had the privilege of working with Dr. Ken Opara at Federal University of Technology, Owerri. So I was more like his teaching assistant. So helping him to grade scripts, and so he saw the passion I have towards academics, and he told me, why don't you just go for a PhD? I was like, no, I want to get a job after my master's, because I finished I was like, no, just go. I said, the highest I would do is a master's and get a job. He said, go for your PhD. So that was really the first thing that inspired me. And when I ever go to do job interview, the interviewer will say, we see more like somebody that has a very high passion for research. Why don't you go for a PhD? I kind of struggled with that for a long time, and I prayed to God. Sorry, I'm making this a little too much spiritual, but I prayed to God, and I felt that I needed to do a PhD. So that's it. It started from Dr. Ken Opara and interviewers, and again, I decided to go and pray and seek God's face, and that made me to decide to go for a PhD.
And why did you choose to study in the US? Why not in Nigeria, which is your country of origin?
Very good question. So it's also from the kind of research I was interested in. So when I was doing my internship at Warri Refinery, I saw the level of pollution that comes from crude oil, and I kept asking myself, can I get another source of energy? Can we actually do something different that will not cause pollution to the environment? I started doing some research, and I stumbled on what they call biomass pyrolysis. So I started reaching out to professors. Actually, most of the professors were in Canada, and I sent them an email. They were not reaching back, and so that actually made me to find out that, okay, can I see any professor that is doing that kind of research in Nigeria? I could not really find anyone. That made me to push to go to do my PhD outside the country. But I wanted to go to Canada, but I never got offer, in Canada, and I now decided to go to the US. So that's what led me to travel abroad. Maybe if we had a well developed educational system with good infrastructure and good research experience, because in Nigeria, most professors don't have research lab, right? They're not actively involved in research. And so I wanted to be much more really involved in research. And those are part of the reason I decided to go outside the country to do my PhD.
How challenging was it to get a school in the US?
It was very challenging. I actually applied to 7 schools.
Wow.
Yes. And the funny thing, the first 3 schools rejected me. So if I'd applied for just 3 schools, maybe I would not be here. So I pushed for 7 schools. And I also want to mention a friend here, Chinedu Okeke. Chinedu Okeke actually is a friend to my cousin, Tina. And I told Tina about my struggle to get admission. And Tina said, I have a friend called Chinedu. He seems to be studying in US. Can you reach out to him? And Chinedu told me, why don't you apply to University of Toledo? And that was the school that gave me admission with full scholarship. So Chinedu was my cousin, and Chinedu were the contact, and they made it easier. But the first 3 schools they rejected me. University of Toledo gave me admission for funding.
Wow. So you were already motivated towards a research area, and that
Yes.
guided your applications and reaching out to professors about what you wanted to do, which is catalysis. Can you just describe what it means? So when somebody says, what does it mean to get a PhD? What does it take to get a PhD in the US? What would you say?
I think for me, I may be wrong. I want to say that what it actually takes, and I think I'm not wrong actually, what it actually takes to get a PhD, the first thing is determination. And it's to stay focused. And the third thing is actually go for what you like or what you are passionate about. Because the whole PhD process is very challenging. You would hit a lot of roadblocks. You would do research that would not work. You would spend hours in the lab. For those of us who did the experimental PhD, you do hours in the lab and things would not work. But what will keep you going will be that determination that I must succeed. And the other thing that you remain that, okay, this is the focus. I know where I'm going and I'm going to go for that. And you try to minimize distraction, because PhD is like 4 to 5 years. There'll be a lot of distractions that will come along the way. And other distractions, like your friends finish masters and they're already working. That is enough to push you out of the program. So you have to remain focused that this is what I want to do, and be determined, and have highly motivated friends around you. Again, Paul started prophesying, God was in the company of the prophets. So if you are among people who are always inspired, who wants to get things done, you will find yourself pushing forward to get this. And last thing I'm going to say, that I had a kind of words that always kept me going in my PhD, and it was one of the wisest men that ever lived, which was Solomon. And he says that whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. So that kept me going, because he said in the grave, there's no work. So those words were inspiring me, so I kept pushing. So that's what I would say for that question.
Thank you so much, Ibeh.
Yeah.
Those are very great tips that you just shared. I want to ask, so what about courses? I'm sure you took courses aside from experiments, right? Did you take courses, and were there anything that you picked? What did you have challenges? Was it easy? Tell us what those were for you.
Thank you very much for that question. In the US PhD, most of the US PhD are fully funded, and your funding is dependent on your GPA. And what will tell much about your GPA is also the courses that you took, at least for the first 2 or 3 years of your PhD. So I took a lot of courses, and because I had a master's in Nigeria already, I was able to transfer some of my courses, and that reduced the number of coursework I had to take. The coursework, some were very easy, some were challenging. I can remember one of the most challenging courses I did was a chemistry course, which was called catalysis. It was, I think that was my only B I ever had, if I remember. It was so challenging because it was pure chemistry and just writing reaction mechanisms. I found it really hard, but I was able to.
But you are a chemical engineer. Why was it challenging if that was one of your toughest courses?
Great question. Now, chemical engineering is just applied chemistry, not pure chemistry, right? So the chemistry that they were doing, it was just trying to write mechanisms of reactions that I would never use in my PhD.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I found it really challenging. But the chemistry folks that we did it together found it very easy because they've taken a course in their third year. I actually can't remember the name of the course now, but that course was like a prerequisite and they found it very easy.
But was it helpful at any point when you took that course? I just want to understand, is it all the courses that you were going to take that will be helpful in your research, in your future work?
Well, that's how it's supposed to be, but that's not the reality. Some of those courses were not really useful in terms of my focus in my research. So the catalysis course had two areas. One part was taken by my professor, Dr. Abarubio. The other part was taken by a professor in chemistry. The part that was taken by Dr. Abarubio was very relatable because she structured it to chemical engineering way. And I found that part so easy. But the part for the chemistry was more pure chemistry inclined. And it was, I'll leave it there. But I'm just saying, it was just not, but other courses were really useful, really. And they were, some of them were challenging. You have a lot of homework to do. You have a lot of assignments. Homework assignment to turn in, group work. But they have their good parts because you get to learn to work with people, you learn to work with a team. Those are the things that will help you after your PhD. Presentation skills, writing skills, those things will later help you. I'm finding those things, many of them useful now, even in Intel, because many times, almost every day I'm presenting about my work and I have to work with a lot of team. I'm currently doing a lot of troubleshooting. Those are the skills I gathered in PhD. When things are not working, research is not working, you don't give up, right? So that's why I talk about determination. And that's the same thing you meet in the industry, at least for my own industry. You are trying to work on a project, it's not working. But because I've developed that thick skin from PhD, that's what's helping me in my work. So,
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's now go social a bit. We've been talking about schoolwork. In your introduction, you spoke about your wife and your children, and I just want to ask, were you married during your PhD program, or was it after you finished that you got married?
I actually married before I started the PhD.
Okay.
So Tolulope and I got married in July. I moved to my PhD in August.
Wow.
And it all started like, okay, let me go and prepare a place for you. Just to decide. And I thought it was just going to be like 1 month. That became like 3 years of struggle to bring the family. It was very challenging for me because the family was very far from me. And the issue of time difference to be able to talk to my wife, and the challenge of I had a baby, my wife was pregnant, and we had the first child in Nigeria. And the whole problem of not being part of the life of the child for the first 3 years was killing me. And then I kept pushing. But those were my inspiration that I must succeed for these children to succeed. I had a child And I believe that if I mess up my destiny, it's going to affect this young girl who never begged me to come to the world. I brought her to the world. So that was another inspiration for me. So having a family and doing my PhD, I decided to know how to use my time well, to improve my time management skills. I don't have time for, hey, there's one party here, and I assess it. How useful is this party? How, so I became very, very good with time management because I know that there's a certain time I must call my wife, I must wake up to talk to my daughter before she goes to school. And yeah, so those were really challenging, but I turned my challenge around and decided to improve my time management skills. I decided to always be part of the family, even though they were far from me.
Yeah.
Fast forward, they joined me in my fourth year, my PhD, and family then boom, we are apart for 3 years. Another baby started coming on the way.
Wow.
So then we're going to have Elizabeth, and my wife was pregnant. I was writing my PhD dissertation, and we were expecting a baby. It was very challenging. I'll take you guys back to what I said. When you are determined to succeed and you are pray to God, you use your time well. Those were the things that were pushing me to make sure that I do well. We had the baby. So I defended my PhD dissertation June 6th. We had the baby June 22nd.
Wow.
And that was how
roller coaster.
It was, but some things were also already inspiring. I'd gotten a job 1 year before graduating. So I knew that, okay, after PhD, there's a place I'm going to. I don't have to worry about some other things like that. Yeah, it was tough, but I would say if you have a family and you are doing PhD, especially if you have kids, you have to be very good with time management. I attended all my wife's prenatal clinic visits, everything. I never missed anyone.
Wow.
Even
while being a PhD student.
Yes, I never missed a single one. My first daughter has dance class that she goes during the week. I never missed anyone. I took her there myself, but I was just making sure that. But again, it will involve you working more. Sometimes I work midnight to make up for the times that sometimes I go to the lab 2 a.m. to start an experiment. I've calculated that this experiment is 6 hours, so I go 12 midnight, start the experiment. 6 a.m. before the family wakes up, I'm already in the lab, take my data, come back in the morning, prepare my daughter 7 o'clock, drop her in school, then go to the lab 9. I had a clear schedule of how my time should be used. And those skills is what I'm still using in Intel. Even though I have my first meeting at work, like 8 a.m., I wake up 6 a.m., I do my devotion, I check up my emails, I bathe my daughter, I bathe her, prepare her for school 7 a.m., then I attend meeting 8 o'clock. So those skills that I've built during my PhD is what is still helping me now.
That's inspiring. Thank you very much. So you would say if somebody tells you that it's not possible to be married and do a PhD, I'm sure with your own experience, it is possible, although it will require extra skills and finding ways to be productive, but it is not like you can never do it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I would like to ask a question. If for someone that is going through a challenging time, that is having currently a PhD student or even a prospective PhD student, and is wondering if he or she should continue, what is there anything that you would like to say to inspire or to motivate such a person?
Thank you. Now, for those who are currently in the PhD program and they are thinking of, giving up, and it kind of looks overwhelming for them, and they're asking themselves the same question. Let me let you know, everybody that succeeded the PhD at one point in their life asked themselves that same question. I asked myself that same question several times. Am I really smart? Is this really for me? Am I good enough for this? Those questions I kept asking myself a lot. But I want to let you know that you can do this. Don't give up. Keep pushing. Hang in there. You are more than able. You can do more than what you even imagine. There's a strong power in the mind. When you set your mind to do something, you would achieve it. If you find it so overwhelming, again, after thinking through this, why don't you look for people again? I said, get a good circle of people who are really, really pushing. They would inspire you. See if you can talk to somebody who has succeeded. Again, thank God you are listening to a program like this, and this should inspire you that you can do it. I am not the most intelligent person in this world, and I stand to be corrected. Anybody can get a PhD who is determined to succeed. You don't have to be Albert Einstein. You don't have to be the smartest person in this world to get a PhD. Use your time very well. Be focused, be determined. Keep good friends who are inspired to succeed in their PhD. Have like a mentor, somebody who has succeeded in PhD, who you can always talk to. And for those of us who are married, that's one advantage of marriage. You can pour your heart to your spouse. Sometimes I come back and I feel like when I call my wife, I say, you know what, this is too much. She said, you can do this, Ibeh. Since you set your heart to do things and you've achieved it, this will not be an exception. So find people to inspire. Even if you're not married, find friends who are doing well, who can. So you can, the cross of this matter is that you don't feel like you cannot do it. Keep pushing, and find people to talk to you about it, and you will succeed. And those who have never really, started a PhD program, and you're also thinking that PhD is for the smartest guy. You are that smart person that they are looking for. You are that smart person that the world is waiting for to change this world. The idea that you're going to do your PhD is going to move the frontier of science forward, or the area of your PhD, and it's going to make a difference in this world. The world needs you, proud of the word of the idea or the talent God has given you. I want to see you rising. I can't wait to hear your story. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ibeh. That is so inspiring. That is so motivating. And I am sure there's somebody out there that after listening to your story, your experience, would get another sense of motivation and will be inspired, to continue in this journey. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming to this show. I really am grateful, and I'm sure all our listeners picked one thing or another which is going to be helpful to them too. Thank you so much, Ibeh.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm grateful. Thank you for considering me to be here. It's a great honor for me, and I'm grateful. Thank you so much, Ibeh.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Again, if you need anything, let me know.
All right. I will. Thank you. So at this point, we have come to the end of this episode, and I wanted to tell you that look out for the next episode. There will be more inspiring stories, just like Ibeh's story here, that we would like to share with you also. Thank you, and be inspired.